So we're going to move into section 2.4, and now we're going to start working with our scripts. So as you can see, working in this console window of RStudio is pretty much exactly the same thing as working in the command line in your terminal window. But if we want to keep a record of what we're doing, if we want to be able to reproduce what we're doing very quickly and easily, the way we're going to do that is with an R script. And so we're going to create a new R script by going up here, down, and choosing R script. And so what this is, it's a text file, but when we save it, it's going to take the extension .r. So I'll just show you that. I'm going to click save. And it's trying to put it in my R practice file because that's my working directory. And so I'm going to save it as, call it first R script, save, and you can see it's first R script.r. Okay, so we have this this blank script up here, and as you can see, we still have our console and our terminal. They're just down here. And one thing that I forgot to point out is this environment window here. So as you may have noticed earlier in this video, as we were making these new objects, vec_obj and x and y, they appeared right here in our global environment. And so this is just a really easy way to see what objects we've created, what objects we can work with. Again, we can always come down here to the console and say ls, and it'll show us the same thing, but over here we get more information. So we can see that vec_obj is a numeric object with 3 elements. We can see what they are. If there were a lot of elements, we wouldn't be able to see all of them. We can also, anytime we want, we can clear out the global environment by clicking on this little broom. So we click that. It's going to ask if we're sure, and then we've gotten rid of those variables. So if we come back down here and do ls, they're gone. Okay, so coming back up here to the script. So this is where we can save commands to use over and over and over again. And this is very helpful when doing research, and as you'll see as we get further along in the class, this is one of the ways that we'll work with R most frequently. Okay, so here we type the same commands that we did before. So we're going to go into section 2.4, which is about logical vectors. So we're going to create a new object called numeric vec and give it the value of 1 to 10. So remember, this is going to create a new object called numeric vec that takes the value of a vector of the numbers 1 through 10. And you see I clicked enter and nothing happened. If we had done this down here in the console, it would have actually created this this vector, but it hasn't done it yet. I haven't run this command. So there's a few ways that we can run it, but I'm just going to keep going and typing a few more commands just so you can see what's going on here. So the next one is logical vec numeric vec greater than equal to 5. Okay, so I'm going to save it because that's always good practice, and then we'll look at how to run these. So as long as I have my cursor in a specific line, if I click this run arrow, it will run just that line. So as you can see, this command, this numeric vec command, has been sent to the console, and I now have this numeric vec in my global environment. I can also see it down here, just as I would, well, because I did type the name of the variable into the console. If I wanted to run both of these lines at the same time, I could highlight them both and click run. And so as you'll see, it created this numeric vec. It also created this new vector called logical vec. And let's come over here and see what logical vec looks like. it has 10 elements, and at least the first 3 are false. If we come down here, I'll just go back, we can see that the first 4 are false and the rest is true. So how did this happen? How did we get this logical vector, and what is it doing? So logical vector takes the value of numeric vec greater than or equals to 5. So this is a logical operator, and what it's doing is it's creating a vector with 10 elements, and for each one it's asking, is the corresponding value of numeric vec greater than or equal to 5, right? So the first element of numeric vec is 1, which is less than 5, so the first value is false. And so as you can see, we go through the first 4 elements, it's all false. Element number 5 is 5, which is greater than or equal to 5. So the next element is true, and all of the rest are going to be true. That was actually not what I wanted to do. So the example in the book, this new vector should be called logical vec 1. So since I saved my commands in this script, I can change that to logical vec 1, and I can get back my original logical vec just by going right back up here and running that line again. So now I have my old value of logical vec, and I can create this new logical vec 1 as an additional vector. So then we have logical vec 2. That is false, true, false, true. And now we can combine these two logical vectors with the not, or, and expressions that are shown in the next example. So, oops. So this example, logical vec 1 or logical vec 2, and the result is going to be, so if the value of the corresponding element of either vector is true, we're going to get a true. And so as we can see, for 3 of the 4 elements, at least one of the 2 vectors has a true value. So if we do logical vec 1 and logical vec 2, then we're only going to get a true value if both of the corresponding elements in a particular slot are true. So element 2 of both vectors is true, and element 4 of both vectors is true. And then with this not operator, we get the opposite of, okay, so the example in the book is logical vec 1, I'll do logical vec 2. So any element of logical vec 2 that's a false is going to come back as true. Any element that's true is going to come back as false in this, this opposite. And so let's save this as, we'll call it not logical vec 2. So we'll save the opposite of logical vec 2, and then we'll say, we'll ask, is logical vec 2 equal to not logical vec 2? Can run them both at the same time, and we see the result down here. So of course, since logical vec 2 and not logical vec 2 are opposites, every element in this expression is going to be false. So then the last thing that they show us in this section is that we can do math with logical vectors. So if we add logical vec 1 and logical vec 2, what's going to happen? So what R does is it turns these vectors into numeric values where a true is 1 and a false is 0. And so if we were to ask for the class of this, okay, so let's say let's save this as NuVec, and now we were to ask for the class of NuVec. We can see that it's now an integer. As you can see, when we added two logical vectors together, R transformed the result into a numeric vector. So I'm going to stop this video here, and the next video we'll talk about section 2.5 on subsetting vectors.